Ahead in the broadcast tonight, the government announces its intention to make further accommodations to the public service.
First at 6, President of the Bahamas Public Services Union is satisfied that the government has finally decided to lift its ban on promotions. We've got the details, so stay tuned.
And what's the trend? The local government minister reveals what's causing a major division in local government elections. First at 6 begins now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. And now, first at 6. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
Hello and welcome to the Bahamas Tonight, first at 6. I'm Andrew Knowles. Thanks so much for joining us. General promotions and other upgrades expected in the public service during the next budgetary year. The minister responsible for the public service, the Honorable Shane Gibson, announced last night in the House of Assembly that $1.8 million has been allocated in the new budget to accommodate the exercise. Minister Gibson also disclosed to Parliament last night that just about every government department will be relocated to provide better working conditions, starting with the Ministry of Social Services in Nassau and in Grand Bahama, as both offices will move to a complex on John F. Kennedy Drive and the Sun Plaza respectively. Government has also finalized lease agreements for the relocation of the Industrial Tribunal from Thompson Boulevard to Safri Square in downtown Nassau, which is expected to expedite a backlog of cases. These are just some of the offices affected by the move, with more on tap. And with government spending $33 million on accommodations, which represents about 19% of the total budget for the public service, Minister Gibson contends that landlords will be held more accountable.
One in Harbour Island, one in Bimini, and one in 8 Mile Rock, Grand Bahama. Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to announce that the preliminary drawings are being completed and the final design drawings are slated to be completed by the end of July of this year. And so once the drawings are completed, then of course we'll go out to tender to have them constructed.
Successive governments have depended heavily on the National Insurance Board for funding, and this time is no different. In fact, NIB is set to pay out $14.3 million to defray the cost of current leases. And despite all the renting, the Public Services Minister says works have finally been completed at the jail center on Blake Road, with agencies slated to move to the new state-of-the-art building in about 2 months. Funding has also been approved for the construction of 3 new state-of-the-art government complexes on the Family Islands.
Landlords will in all cases be responsible for executing the building and mechanical scope of work to meet the government's required occupancy by the respective agencies.
Well, the much anticipated news of promotions in the public service is welcomed to the union that represents public servants. Union President John Pinder sat down with our Janae Noel Ferguson today to discuss the implications of this latest move by the government.
Head of the BPSU, John Pinder, believes the announcement of government's intention to conduct a promotion exercise signals forward movement for the hundreds of workers who have been awaiting a turnaround of the government's finances.
Now that the government has made a decision to, in my view, lift the ban on promotions, I know that certainly breathes a sign of at least a number of persons, because everybody wants to be rewarded for their hard work.
Pinder says civil servants have fallen behind the poverty line and are fearful what the implementation of VAT could mean for their economic standing. An increase in minimum wage, what many unions have protested for, is needed now more than ever.
In these hard times, who could survive with $150 or $210? And the sad thing about it is it appears though the rich people gets away with owing the government the most money, and the poor people have to punish. And so because persons who can't afford to pay their taxes, who can't afford to ensure that their bills are kept current, are not doing it, and so the government isn't able to tap into those financial resources to cause, in particular, the low-income civil servants to be able to benefit by receiving a proper salary for their labor.
But the challenges within the public service, Pinder admits, doesn't end there.
The next problem we are faced with is that of persons not getting their confirmation letters timely. And the industrial government speaks to that. They're saying that when a person is on probation, prior to the expiration of the 12-month probationary period, they ought to be written to and advised as to whether or not they have met the criteria. And if they have not been written to 1 month after the expiration of the probationary period, they should automatically be considered permanent and pensionable.
Reportedly, more than 400 persons are awaiting to be regularized. Pinder anticipates this is a primary item on the government's agenda, but for now, he believes more focus should be placed on human capital.
We are not a priority in no government. Infrastructures be their priority, not human resource. And that's the reason why we have so many problems in the public service and in the labor force in general.
Janae Noel Ferguson, ZNS Network News.
Unifying the public bus system on New Providence is also a priority of the government. Transport Minister, the Honorable Glenys Hannah Martin, admits reform of the current system is long overdue as it undermines progressive social and economic advancement. During her contribution to the budget debate yesterday, Minister Hannah Martin revealed that government has already engaged in meetings with industry stakeholders over the past 24 months and has contracted a company to advise a model.
The accounting firm of Deloitte and Tues is contracted to provide a valuation of franchises and the industry in order to update the business plan. The accounting firm is charged with the following deliverables for the bus unification project, and this is what we are waiting for, Speaker. 1, determining a compensation package for franchise holders and bus operators. 2, explaining the benefits of converting a 100% owned company to a business company. 3, ascertaining a value for the industry and the business plan shares for franchise holders according to the value of franchises. And a re-evaluation of the bus routes to accommodate the road improvement project and ensuring comprehensive coverage of public transport throughout New Providence.
In her contribution to the budget communication, Long Island MP and Opposition Deputy Leader Loretta Butler Turner talked about the dilapidated state of healthcare facilities in her constituency, as well as much needed improvements to schools, roads, airports, water supply, and the dump site in Long Island.
We have propositions for hotels and small guest houses, but Mr. Speaker, without water and without a port of entry in South Long Island, unfortunately, much of what we need is being stagnated. Since I've become the Member of Parliament for Long Island, Mr. Speaker, the cooling facility for dead bodies has also broken down. And so many persons who now pass away in Long Island must be transported at some 67 miles north to the Sims Clinic for them to be refrigerated or airlifted to Nassau, so that their bodies can be preserved for burial later. So, Mr. Speaker, I plead on behalf of the people of Long Island.
The newest senator received his instruments of appointment during a brief ceremony at Government House today. It's the second time Michael Pintard will be serving in the upper chamber. And as First at 6 Fern Carey reports tonight, he's renewed his purpose to champion the cause of those who are marginalized.
Actual artist and businessman Michael Pintard was officially sworn in as a senator during a brief ceremony at Government House Tuesday. He replaces former F&M Senator John Boswick, who was fired from his post last month after being arraigned on a single ammunition charge. Pintard is not a new face to the Senate, having served in the post previously. Mr. Pintard is described as someone who stands in defense of those who are marginalized, fighting for the cause of the little man.
I believe that Michael Pintard possesses many of the qualities and skills that are required of leaders in the New Bahamas. He's well educated, articulate, organized, focused, and committed to building a nation where Bahamians are significant owners of their economy, where Bahamian citizens of all colors and genders play an integral role in determining the direction of their nation for theirs and future generations of Bahamians.
Anxious to bring change that will impact the nation moving forward, Pintard intends to focus on environmental and cultural issues, among others.
I will weigh in on a consistent basis on decisions being made by government and corporate Bahamas in terms of which types of cultural events that they support. And so you'll certainly see me very much involved with that. I've lived in Fox Hill for over 12 years. I've been intimately involved in helping to transform the area that I lived in. So I believe I have something to offer as I offer a critique of the government's urban renewal program that I believe is not delivering what it has the capacity to deliver. The structure of urban renewal is incorrect. Urban renewal really is about renewing an environment, a physical and social transformation of an area.
Pintard also plans to bring a renewed focus to a vexing issue affecting many young men.
Yes, I will be standing in defense of those young men who, for example, would have had a brush with the law and now find that they have a police record that has not been expunged, despite the fact that there are some folks who have committed more egregious acts.
Fern Geary, CNS Network News.
In other news this evening, senior government officials met with a delegation from the Republic of Haiti to discuss bilateral agreements yesterday. This meeting was a result of the ministerial talks that took place earlier this year in Port-au-Prince between Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Perry Christie, Foreign Affairs Minister, the Honorable Fred Mitchell, and Haitian President, His Excellency Michel Martelly. It was then that all government heads agreed that the dialogue should continue regarding matters of technical cooperation, bilateral trade, and illegal migration. This week's sessions took into account the realities that both countries face at this time, and the negotiations proved fruitful in advancing the draft text on the above issues to be signed this summer. Well, still ahead for us tonight, the Police Staff Association concerned about the high rate of crime. That story and more when First at 6 continues.
This portion of the news was brought to you by Shock Treatment.